The UNC system is about to change how all of its campuses address DEI. The Board of Governors plans to vote tomorrow on a new policy that would replace current guidelines on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today, Democrats made a last-minute push to try to stop them. WREL's Eric Miller is live tonight. And Eric, they say that there are some major benefits of these policies.
Deborah, Democrats trotted out some pretty impressive numbers here, including a 30% increase in successful graduations for minority students after DEI was implemented. They cite the UNC system's own numbers for that, and they say it's not the only benefit. Speaking inside the legislative building Wednesday, Democrats say it's maddening. The weeks-long push by Republicans, including those on the UNC System Board of Governors, to repeal DEI policies.
It is troubling to see the continued politics being played with important state institutions.
Democratic leaders argue DEI has made students from an increasingly diverse North Carolina feel welcome in the state's higher institutions.
Is this what we're all scared of?
And Representative Maria Cervania says it's not just student success at risk. The Wake County Democrat says repealing DEI policies could drive new businesses to other states.
I talked to legislators in Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Georgia. They're telling me, you keep going this way, we're already going after your future industry.
The press conference comes after weeks of sometimes bitter debate around DEI. UNC Chapel Hill's Board of Trustees already stripped millions in funding for DEI programs from next year's budget. And the UNC System Board of Governors, whose 24 members are appointed by the Republican-controlled state legislature, is less than 24 hours away from repealing DEI policies system-wide.
The next day,
dozens of students tried this morning to get inside the UNC Board of Governors meeting. Space was limited. Many waited outside and protested against changes to the DEI policy. The UNC Board of Governors voting today to reverse and replace its DEI policy.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you guys, days like today make me proud to be a North Carolinian because the North Carolina GOP is setting an example for how to move forward with cutting waste, fraud, and abuse in the state, things that we are paying for, okay? Our taxpayer dollars are funding that, quite honestly, we should not be funding, okay? We are funding a lot of hate and division, and the worst part about it is that we don't even know what the outcomes are of the things that we are funding, okay? And what I'm talking about are these woke initiatives like diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, last time I talked about this topic, okay, it involved UNC Chapel Hill and the UNC Board of Trustees announcing that they're going to move to abolish DEI for the university system in the state after the communist activists took over UNC Chapel Hill's campus and took down the American flag and replaced it with a Palestinian flag, okay? For whatever reason, that actually lit a fire under the butts of the Republicans to actually understand that, hey, you know what? We need to do something about this, right? We need to actually stand up to the communists that have taken over our universities, and we need to try to move the needle back to some form of law and order, okay, and common sense within our university system, because our universities, even the best universities in the country, right, have been taken over by Marxist, communist ideologies, and we are seeing the product of that today, okay, with all of these riots and protests. So yeah, they decided that they were going to abolish DEI and take those funds. Now we're going to talk about how much money they're spending on this, okay? And again, part of the reason why I agree with this cut is because they don't really know how much they're spending on it, which again is just par for the course when it comes to these government programs. But anyways, they're going to take those funds and they're going to use it to fund the police.
Marty, what went into that decision? Look first of all at the DEI side. What went into the decision there to take money out of those programs?
Sure. You know, I'm glad to be here with you, Stuart. A lot of these DEI programs were implemented after the 2020 period of unrest. Yep. And at the same time, there were calls for defunding of the police. Part of the issue is that they're reactive, feel-good measures that did not have clear metrics. There was a lot of vilification of police, which led to difficulty in retaining and recruiting police officers, along with undue influence by politicians into police matters, resulting in a lack of law and order. And when we get to a point where we need to have a fence around the U.S. flag, something is terribly wrong.
Yeah. You pulled back on DEI and you gave money to police officers, campus police officers. I would expect you've gotten a lot of pushback on this. Have you?
Actually, we've gotten a lot of support out there for this. A lot of people feeling like the pendulum is finally swinging back. When it's considered unacceptable to misuse someone's preferred pronouns, but it's okay to scream obscenities and throw bottles at law enforcement, use a bullhorn in their faces, threaten them, push and shove and hit them, vandalize property, even tell an officer, where their wife works in an effort to intimidate them. Something, has gone wrong. This is Antifa, Redneck Revolt, anarchist, Democrat, socialist, are all part of these groups involved in the disturbances. They're using our students as shields for their activities, and law enforcement is used as a punching bag. But this week, the board showed that it believes more in unity than divisiveness, and that we strongly support our law enforcement. And our actions demonstrate that we also want to support a meritocracy and prevent this socialist Marxist environment of equal outcomes. We believe in equal opportunity.
Which I wholeheartedly agree with, okay? I agree with 100%. But the people who don't agree with it? Democrats don't agree with it, okay? In fact, they're out here boohoo, whining, and crying, talking about all the jobs that are going to be lost due to DEI being cut from these university systems, which I don't believe, right? I don't believe anybody's going to lose their job or that employers are going to leave North Carolina because they don't have DEI programs at the universities. I think that's really stupid. I think that's really silly. But then again, then I think about it, I guess you could argue that all of the people or some of the people that strictly do DEI work, okay, they'll lose their jobs. But hey, they'll be reassigned or something like that. They'll be all right, okay? I'm praying for them, but I'm just saying, that could possibly be what happens, right? Some people could lose their job if all they do, again, is DEI work. So I kind of understand that point. But again, that doesn't stop the woke communists who have been brainwashed with the ideology that we need to push back against in these universities from showing up outside of this meeting by the UNC Board of Trustees to vote on defunding DEI. They showed up to protest and they ended up getting arrested. Take a look.
We are for power. We are for peace. We are for love. They are for discrimination. They are for exclusion. And they are for intimidation. That is what we're here for. We're here for love. They are directly opposed to love. They are diametrically opposed to love.
Sarah, don't push her, Sarah. Don't touch her.
Yeah, so what do we have here, right? We have communist activists who have no business, in my opinion, protesting what the UNC Board of Governors is doing, because I think that there are more pressing issues that you need to worry about, especially if you are a so-called black male at the UNC Chapel Hill, because the black male graduation rate at UNC Chapel Hill is the lowest among any demographic, okay? I mean, you have a less than 50% chance of graduating UNC Chapel Hill in 4 years if you are a black male, right? If you graduate at all, okay? Thank God I got out of there in 4 years, right? I beat the statistics, okay? I beat the man, right? But yeah, they should really be protesting about that because obviously DEI doesn't seem to be helping out, the students that it needs the most when it comes to academics, which is why you're in school, okay? This is why you go to school. But again, this is what these people have forgotten, right? So they want to act shocked, Pikachu face, when they get arrested after they refuse to leave, right? They were told, hey, you got to leave. Okay, you can't be here anymore. They get into the elevator and they stop the elevator from going down. They continue to do their little protest and they're talking. Police get fed up with it after telling them to leave. At that point, you're trespassing. Now you have to get arrested, right? Too bad, so sad, right? So with that being said, again, one of the reasons why I think that is good that this policy has been done away with is because nobody really knows how much money has been spent on this policy. And it's just, again, an example of a government program that's inefficient because nobody knows where the hell the funds are going towards and how much are we actually really spending. Take a look.
DEI is DOA at UNC. The Board of Governors repealed and replaced the policy. But why?
I have stated before, and I'll state again, I think that DEI is divisive.
My opinion is that DEI creates and exacerbates problems on this campus and doesn't solve them.
So they say the DEI office is divisive and isn't working. Let's explore that. Let's go in depth.
Now, keep in mind, this guy, Dan Haggerty, is going to come at it from a pro-DEI perspective, right? Just so you guys understand.
So let's start with the obvious here, in the obvious spot. Does DEI work? What is the ROI on DEI? How has UNC tracked the return on investment since the office opened in 2019? Well, that's a bit confusing. So let's start with confusing thing number one, the cost, which no one really seems to know. There's a recent annual report from UNC. It includes the expenditures from the DEI office only at the Chapel Hill campus, and it comes out to $2.3 million. But system-wide, for all 17 schools, it is much more. And we have heard some big guesses.
I fully support what the UNC Board of Governors is doing in really getting rid of this wasteful spending for DEI. I've been told the figure is as high as $90 million in the system.
So that number, that $90 million number, it comes from an article by Open the Books. They looked at how many full-time UNC staffers have any DEI role, like professors who sit on committees but don't actually have a DEI title, and they don't show up on that annual report. So again, what's the cost? Well, somewhere between $2 and $90 million. Great, that narrows it down. Now, I will say $90 million does feel way too big since UNC is just at $2 million and 15 of the other 17 schools or other 16 schools are smaller. But when we asked for more specifics, for maybe a more detailed number, no one could give it to us.
And again, that's the problem. That's the problem. We don't even know how much money we're spending, right? Imagine how infuriating this is as a taxpayer. It is infuriating to me, right? Because I am a taxpayer, okay? Trust me, okay? I just sent a fat check to the state, okay? Paying my fair share. But, yeah, I mean, again, imagine all these tax dollars were sent into the state, and they don't even know where the hell the money's going. They don't know how much they're spending on this program. So if they don't know how much they're spending, how the hell can they know what the outcomes are? They don't know how much they're spending. They don't know what the outcomes are. But what we do know is that these students are getting more woke, okay, as the years go on, right? We know that our academic institutions aren't living up to what they're supposed to be about, right? And again, that's the only thing we know at this point. So again, it's frustrating. It really is, as a taxpayer.
Because they don't know. The board says, in fact, that each university now has until September 1st to explain what they do, how much they spend, how much they can save, and what the school can do with those savings related to student success and well-being. Which brings me to confusing thing number two, the list of DEI programs, considering that most of them existed well before the DEI office was even created in 2019, like Project Uplift. That one dates back to 1969 as a way to introduce kids to college who otherwise wouldn't know what to expect. It gives high school students a one-day college experience. And this is an amazing stat. In this year's freshman class, 71% of the kids who went through that program and got into UNC are the first people in their family to go to college.
Now, here's the thing. I can actually speak personally to this program because I participated in the program when I was a senior in high school. And the program is not explicitly for minorities. I mean, the point is to get some experience being on UNC's campus, right? If you are, a student that, is from a low-income family, or if you are a first generation, college student or whatever, like your parents didn't go to college, it's for people to get exposure, okay? And I don't necessarily think it's a bad program, right? I think it's a good program in the sense that, yeah, you're allowing students to get that exposure, but you don't have to run it as a DEI program. You could just run it as a program that's for everybody who comes from a low income background or their parents didn't go to college. It's really that simple. And honestly, I'm pretty sure I was there with white folks. Okay. I'm pretty sure there are white people that were there. Okay. In fact, I believe I actually got pictures of when I was at this program, when I participated in this program. So yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's a program that's specifically targeted towards minorities, okay? Not from what I remember, but again, it's under the DEI office. It doesn't have to be cut, okay? You just need to move it from under the DEI initiatives, because at the end of the day, it's just not necessary, right? It's just not, okay? It could be under some other program and, it is what it is. But again, it's just funny to me how, people want to fearmonger about, this program or that program is going to be cut. Ultimately today, again, there's a lot of waste in the system. And the fact that these people don't even know what the money's being spent on is, I think it's ridiculous. And I think it's unacceptable. Just coming at it from a principle perspective.
That sounds like a success. That is a great ROI. But how much?
No, it's not. You can't figure out the ROI unless you actually know how much it costs. If you don't know how much it costs, how can you determine the ROI? So again, if you can determine the ROI, then hey, we can have a real conversation. But since you don't even know how much it costs or how much we're spending, then you can't determine the ROI. Again, this guy, he's coming at it clearly from, a left-wing perspective here.
How much credit can we give to the DEI office for that? Well, it's hard to say. In fact, if we take another look at that list from Chapel Hill's annual report, of the 18 programs on there, 10 of them were already up and running for years before the DEI office was created. Partnerships with rural community colleges, pipelines to STEM careers, recruitment programs to put more medical professionals in rural areas, ways for lower income students to apply to college and get some financial aid. Naturally, though, we wondered, does the DEI office oversee these existing programs now, the way that they do with Project Uplift? We asked in an email and were told the programs you listed are under different departments across campus. Then why were they in the annual report? I told you, it's confusing. Also, if DEI goes, does it take all those long-standing programs with it? Are they gone too? Again, we don't know. In fact, we were told any speculation on the impact this has on specific jobs, programs, and employees is premature. So, for just a second, let's summarize. Without knowing what stays, what goes, how much it all costs, how much they'll save by making cuts, or the overall impact of these specific programs, or the DEI office itself, they already voted. Like a bad carpenter, cut first, then measure.
Yeah, well, again, the problem is that this stuff should have been measured before, right? Why wasn't UNC measuring these things before? Why weren't they keeping up with the actual return on investment? So listen, at the end of the day, I understand that this is a controversial thing. It's not going to be the end of the world, okay? I think this thing was established in 2019, right? And before that, right, you had things in place. And, hey, it wasn't the end of the world, okay? I'm not convinced that this DEI stuff is a positive return on investment. I definitely agree with the direction that the UNC Board of Trustees is trying to take the school system, the state in when it comes to higher education. I think that we definitely need to promote true equality, okay, and be open to all points of view, right? And again, what is happening is that our universities are not like that anymore. You can't freely think of these universities, because they've been taken over by Marxists and communists. And, it just so happens that it took what happened on Chapel Hill's campus that day for these people to realize that, hey, you know what, this just went a little bit too far. It's time for us to really make some serious changes to the school system and to stop all this waste, fraud, and abuse in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, hey, a lot of people are going to be mad about this, but I think it's the right move. I don't think that nearly as many people are going to be hurt by this as the Democrats and the woke revolutionaries will, complain about. But, hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.